In the name of Allah, who is most merciful and benevolent, this is the course Technical Writing and Presentation Skills. I'm your course instructor, Zahira Fatma, from Education University, Bank Road Campus, Lahore. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the class, dear students. I hope that you all will be fine. Our today's lecture is about formal report writing. In this lecture, we will see that how to write a formal report, why we need to write a formal report, what is the purpose to write a report, and what is a rationale behind writing a formal report, what are the steppings which are involved to write a report, and what are those elements which can make our report more effective and authentic one. Now students, here is another important point to note, that why we need to write a report, or you can say what is the rationale behind writing a report. You know that whatever the work you are doing, there must be some purpose, some objective or some goals. That's why you are doing that work. Same is the case in report writing, that there must be some objective, some goals, purposes or rationale behind writing that particular report. And that is important to keep in your mind, that you should be aware of all these issues, that what is the important factor which is boosting you up to write a report. That must be clear in your mind, that why you are going to write down any particular report. If it is not clear in your mind, then how does it possible that you can write a better report? Definitely, if you are not well aware by yourself, then how to persuade the other people for whom you are writing the report? So first of all, clear yourself that what is the need for writing that particular report which you are writing. Then you can better able to manage to write a good report. Now students, let's have a look in detail that why we need to write a report. There are some important points to remember in this regard. Like the first point is that for every project, for every work, whatever you are doing, it is very important to keep the record of that project. So the first and foremost important step or important factor why you need to write a report is that to keep the record about your works, about your projects. The other important thing is that obviously you must have to tell others about your failures, about your progress, and in order to give the information and awareness to other people about all this, you need to write a report. The other thing is that in order to determine the future plannings, you need to write a report, means to say that for the determination of future plannings in the light of your previous work, your past experiences, your failures, your progress, how you want to improve, or how you can able yourself to improve in the light of your failures and progress. All your future planning will be discussed in a report. And further, it is not only the case that you may only inform the others about your failures or progress. You must be well aware about your own self. So in order to keep yourself well aware, you whatever you are doing, how you are doing, what you have done, what you have to do in future, and what you are going recently, all these things all the pros and cons about your project, about your work. You should aware about that thing, and for all this you need to write a report. And another important factor behind writing the report is that for the communication, and communication with whom? Communication with those person who are donating and funding for your projects. It is very important to give them information about your project, and to up to date them about the status of your project, and further to let other people know about the developments of a project, so other people can be encouraged to do their own projects. And further, the reports can be written in order to use for evaluation and also for the government purpose. Now, students, there is another important point to note, that who is the reporter. Here we will look at the thing that in where you have to use the first person and where you have to use the third person. There is some discrimination in this regard. So let's have a view. Now students, let's have a look that who is the reporter in this regard. You have to be vigilant enough that reports written by an individual should be written in the first person, but reports submitted by a committee or subcommittee must be written in an impersonal manner, means to say in the third person and in the past tense. So you have to be careful while writing a report, that you are writing that report individually or in the form of a committee or subcommittee. So keep this point in your mind. Now students, let's have a quick view about what is the report, what it means, what is its important features or prospects. According to Oxford English Dictionary, a report is a statement of the results of an investigation or of any matter on which definite information is required. Means to say, a report or account is any informational work made with the specific intention or counting certain events in a widely presentable form. Next, it is very important that all the reports which are presented, they are very well organized and a highly well knitted structure of all the written reports. And the other thing is that report writing or reports is an essential skill for professionals in almost every field, like for accountants, teachers, graphic designers, information scientists, etc. Further, it is very important that a report aims to inform as clearly and succinctly as possible. It should be easy to read and professional in its presentation. Students, let's share some important types of report. Students, here you see some of the types of reports, and as we are looking towards these types, the first one is according to use. In this regard, the first is external report, that is written for the outside of the organization. The other is internal report, that is written for inside of the organization. And the second category in this regard is according to period. The first is a routine, that is you can say that for daily routine type issues or problems, whatever the reports you are writing, that is routine type report. And the other is special report, when you are dealing any particular issue, any specific problem in any report, that is the special report. The third category is according to levels of management. In this regard, the first report is the reports to up management, means to say for the high authority, for the authoritative personalities. When you are writing the report, that is for the up management's report. The other is reports to functional management, and for the junior level management, and the third is for the functional, overall functional reports. These are some of the types of reports which you keep in your mind. Now let's have a look, what is a good report? What are the important or prominent features of a report that can be called a good report? What are those distinguished characteristics which can make a report a good report? The first thing in this regard is that the report should be according to the demands, according to the requirements of the audience, of the readers. That is, the written reports should present focused, salient contents to a specific reader or to a specific audience according to their demands, according to their needs. And exactly what you include in your report and how you present it will be according to the readers. The second thing is that you must include the answers of all the possible questions which may arise in the reader's mind, that must be answered in your report. Then it will make the report the most good one in readers, from readers' perspectives. And then it is very important to note that whether the report which you are going to present, it is at the right level of the readers or not. Then the report must be written in clear, concise way, and it must be well organized, and it must be presented in a logical way. Now students, let's have a look, what is a report? The word report is derived from a word rapporteur, which means to carry back. A report is a systematic, well-organized document which defines and analyzes a subject or problem. To produce a good report requires effort. The content must be clear, concise, and accurate. Here is a report structure which is showing the components or elements of a report which are necessary to follow while you are writing a report. Here the first one is letter of transmittal, in which that letter is written to the person who commissioned the report. The next one is title page, in which you will add date, name, and purpose of the report. The next component is table of contents. It will make it easy to navigate, and it includes a list of headings and subheadings. After that, there is a executive summary or abstract, which will give all the key points in a very concise way. And after that is another important segment, that is introduction, that will provide some background of the existing work. Basically, it's an overview of the content so that the reader would understand what they are going to read. And after the introduction is a body in which methodology and findings are being there, and then moving ahead, that's a conclusion where results and the overall impact of the report is being given there, and the suggestions which are emerged from the conclusions are given in the recommendation section, and some sort of additional information or sources which are not directly interpreted in the report are added in the bibliography section. And at the end, the graphs, photos or any additional supporting material which is strengthening to the report is added in the appendix section. Here is a letter of transmittal. Students, this is a type of letter for that person who commissioned the report. And in this letter, you in a very well organized way and effectively hand over your project to that person. And this letter will include certain components which are included a salutation, means to say dear miss or sir, then the name, then the purpose of the letter, the main finding of the report. And in this letter you will include any important considerations along with an acknowledgement of any significant help who has helped you in completing that work or that project. And along with that, you can say that an expression of pleasure or gratitude, means to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to work on this report. That is a sort of acknowledgement which you will add in the letter of transmittal. In title page you will add certain important points, like you will mention the purpose of the report, why you are writing that report, the issue, the problem, the main objective of writing that report will be mentioned in the title page. And further you will mention the name of that person for whom that report was written. And it is a very important thing to mention the name of that person. And then who prepared that report, the name of that person must be there in the title page. And it is very important to mention the date of the presentation of the report, that when that report was being presented. That is also important in order to up to date the record about the report. These are some important points which you have to keep in your mind while you are formulating the title page of your report. Here students, for your convenience, for the better understanding how to write the title page, here at the center of the page, at the top of the page, the purpose is mentioned, why and why to write this report. And then after mentioning the purpose, here the name for whom the report has been prepared, and then the name of the person who has prepared that report. And then at the end the date is mentioned. That is a typical format how to write the title page. Another section of the report, that is table of contents. The content page should list the various chapters or the headings along with page numbers. And it is important to note that you may number chapters or headings and subheadings in addition to provide page references. And for this you must make sure that the correct page number must be written down opposite to the contents. And then another important thing is that when you are mentioning all the details, that must depend upon the complexity or the length of the report. And further throughout the report you must up to date yourself by word processing packages that can generate a table of content for you. And another thing is that you must be clear and concise and consistent throughout the writing. Here is a sample for table of contents in which there is a clear description how to write the table of contents. As you are looking towards the page, that at the one side headings and subheadings are mentioned, and opposite to those headings and subheadings and all the contents, page numbers are being mentioned. And while you are writing the table of contents, the place where you are writing the headings and subheadings, there you will mention the numbers, and the numbers will be in a typical order. That first of all you will write 1 and 1.1, 1.12. That will be the sequence of the numbers when you are mentioning the headings and subheadings. Another segment in report writing, that is abbreviations or glossary. It means that if you have used some technical or scientific wordings and you feel that these wordings are not familiar to all your readers of the report, then it is necessary, or it is very important, that you should provide a list of all those abbreviations which you have used in the report, and all these abbreviations which will be presented in alphabetical order, and in which you will give the meanings of all those wordings. And if you have used a lot of technical terms, you should also provide a glossary for the convenience of the reader, in which you will give brief explanation of their meanings, in order to clear the confusion of the readers, so that they can easily understand whatever you have written in your report. All those wordings must be easily understandable by the readers of the report. Students, here you are looking, there is a sample for the abbreviations and glossary, how to write those abbreviations and glossary. At the one hand of the page, you will write those abbreviated forms or wordings which you have used throughout the report, inside your report. And when you are giving those abbreviated wordings, just opposite to those wordings, you will give the brief definition of that abbreviated form, and that will enable the readers to get the meaning of those abbreviations or those technical or scientific terminologies which you have used in the report. Because if definitely it is suggested to avoid the technical or scientific wordings, but when it is become very important to use those abbreviations or those technical or scientific wordings, then it is again suggested then that you must give the meanings of those abbreviations or those technical or scientific wordings, so that the readers may not be confused after reading those wordings. Definitely when you are relating or you are explaining the meanings of those abbreviations, then it will be helpful for the readers to understand the meaning easily. Another section, that is acknowledgements. In this section, you will thank to all those person or personalities, organization or institutes who have helped you in collecting the information or data or all that material for the preparation of the report. This is a short paragraph in which you mention the names of all those personalities, like for example, your colleagues, your friends, your family members maybe, who helped you out, or the any of the institute or organization from where you have collected the data. All these people or institutes or organizations you have to mention in the acknowledgement section. Students, here for your convenience, there is a sample how to write the acknowledgements. That is a paragraph in which names are written, or the all those namings which have helped out in collecting the data. In this way you will interpret the names in the acknowledgement section about those personalities who have helped out in the collection of information for the preparation of your report. Now students, here is another important component of the report, that is abstract or executive summary. Keep in your mind that abstract or executive summary is much different from the introduction. As in the abstract of the report, in which you may include one sentence for every main section of your report. For example, in abstract you can include certain components, like you may include the context of the research, and here you can conclude the purpose of the report and the major findings which you have from that report. Here you mentioned those findings and the conclusions, along with the main recommendations you will mention in the abstract or executive summary. That is a brief and very concise summary of the whole report. And it is very important to note that you have to write the abstract or executive summary after you have written the report. Here is a sample of an abstract, that how to write a brief or concise summary of the whole report, in which you have to mention only the key points of all the report, not the detailed discussion of all the points, just the key points, important points, from starting from the introduction till at the end, including the introductory segments in a brief lines, as well as about the all main points or main sections of the report. You will write about all the key points of all the main sections till at the end of the recommendation section in an abstract or executive summary of a report. Here is another important section of the report, that is introduction. In introduction, you will give the information related to the background that must be enough that it can make a context for the report, and it can give the clear understanding about the issue to the readers. And then further you will mention that why you are going to write down the report, that is you will clarify the objective, goal or purpose of the report. Further, it is very important that you have to give the significance of the report, why that report is important, and what the report will cover what is the status of the report for the present scenario, or what is the importance of the report for the future. So you have to mention the scope of the report. Further, you will mention the arrangement of the report section, all the explanation about the sections, that what you will do or what will be discussed in the further sections of the report. That is very important to keep all these points in mind while you are jotting down the words in order to write the introduction section. Here, for your convenience, a sample of introduction is presented, and which will brief you more clearly that how to write the introduction, how to add the points, how to give the background material in order to clear the confusion in the minds of the reader about the context of the report, then how to write down about the purpose and goal of the report, what are the wordings with which you can explain in brief, outline the scope of your report, and how all the sections are being interpreted in the introduction section. Another important section of the report is body. The content of the body depends on the purpose of the report. Here, keep in your mind that a report of primary research would include literature review, method, findings or results, and discussion. While the report of secondary research that would include information, analysis, and discussion. The next step is conclusion. In this section, you have to summarize all the main points of your report. Give a brief summary of all the main points. That is not like the abstract. Here you have to sum up the main points, and then you have to formulate or outline the findings of your research in the conclusion section. And it is very important to note that the conclusion should clearly be related to the goals or motives or objectives of your report. And in this section, you must be careful that you should not add any of the new information. Just you have to jot down those ideas. You have to give the summary or sum up the main points of the report which have already mentioned in the report. No new point you have to add in the conclusion section. Here is a sample how to write the conclusion of any report. That will give you good understanding of writing the conclusion, so that you can be better able to write down a good conclusion of the report. There is a recommendation section. In this section, these are the suggestions or opinions or recommendations for your future plannings or for your future actions. And it is very important to note that these suggestions must be interpreted logically, which are derived from the body of your report, and these are basically based upon the results, findings or conclusions taken from the report, and these must be practical ones, so that can be followed easily and specific to that issue or problem which was interpreted in the report. And here it is important to note that all the recommendations must be presented in a well structured and well organized manner. Another important thing is that when you are giving the recommendation, you must be brief and draw your main points from the discussion. Then be strong and advocate action, and use the active voice and satisfy the requirements established in the introduction, and use point form if in that case several recommendations are being made. That is a very important section for the future planning, for the future actions which can be taken on the basis of all these recommendations, which can not only be fruitful and make the improvisation in your project and in your work. The other section is bibliography. Sometimes it may happen while you are writing a report, you may consult from any book, or you get an idea from any interview, from any particular statement which may be not referred to directly in the report, but you have some inspiration from that text, from that book, or from that view of any person. So in the bibliography section you have to give the reference of that text as well. That is you can say ethically it is suggested to avoid the plagiarism. You have to quote that source in the bibliography section. Here is a sample how to write the bibliography, which can give you a clear view how to maintain the bibliography section of your report, which can not only give you the better opportunity to avoid the plagiarism, but also strengthen your report effectivity. Now the next section is the appendices section. Sometimes it may happen that you may have a material that is very technical or complex one, and in too much detailed one, which is not interpreted inside the report, that you may add in the appendices section. You may also add some sort of graphs, photographs, tables, charts, or anything else which is extra material that is helpful for the your any sort of argument, and strengthening your some sort of issues which are discussed in the report, that are added in the appendices section, and it is placed at the end of the report, and it is arranged in an order that refer to the order that is referred to in the report as well. And it is helpful to strengthen the effectivity of your report. Here is a sample appendix that how to add or how to write the material whatever you are going to put in the appendix section. Now students, let's have a quick view about the report writing process, that what are those steppings which are involved in report writing process, so that you can be better able to write down a good report. Here you are looking towards the report writing process. The first one is objective, the second planning, and then to collect the information or data. After collecting the information or data, you have to organize all that data or information according to the audience demands or needs or requirement, just keeping in your view that for whom you are going to write down that report. And then you have to give a proper attention towards the structure of the report, and then at the end you have to finalize that report, giving the final touches to your report, anything, any point which you have added that is not relevant to your report, that must be deleted one, avoided one, and omitted, and the point if that is repeated in your report, that must be checked thoroughly, so that your report must be a thorough sample of all the collected material in a very well organized and systematical and a logical interpretation of all the information which you have gathered in order to write down the report. Now let's one by one may have a view about a brief view about all these components. The first one in this regard is objective. You have to define the scope of the investigation. What is the significance of your all investigation? Why you are going to find out the information or collecting the data? Then you must clearly state the purpose of your report. That may be just only to inform or to convince. That must be clear one. The objective must be clear one, so that not only you can able to interpret all the information in a well organized way, but the reader can get the information as you are conveying him or her, so that the communication will be effective one. Now here is another important step in writing the report, that is planning, which is oftenly neglected in most of the cases, but keep in your mind that it is very important step while you are writing the report. So that the first component in the case of planning is that you must aware of the fact that how much time you may require to write down that report, and then for your convenience, how you can divided that work into different levels or different stages. And another thing is that how you can bound yourself, or you have to bound yourself for the deadline or for the specific time in order to complete the various steps or levels or stages of your report, because keep in your mind that information delayed, information denied. Because if after the deadline you are going to sum up the report or presenting your report, that is quite a useless task on your part. So you have to complete the report within the given time, within the given framework, or before the deadline of the report. Now another important step in writing the report is the collection of data or collection of information. Now in this regard, you have to be very careful that you must be clear that how much information, how much data you need, or what is the information you need, what is the data you need that is relevant to the report which you are writing. Then another thing is that from where you can get that information, from where you can get that data. That maybe the source may be survey, questionnaire, or any institute, any organization, or you can get that information from various websites, or you can collect the data from any publication, from articles, from journals, from books, or from anywhere else. That must be clear in your mind, so that you can easily approach to that source in order to collect the required information. Students, after collecting the information, now the point is how to present that information. It is very important to organize the information, because if you are not interpreted the information in well organized manner, then it may create some sort of confusion in the minds of the reader. So very important to note that there must be discrimination between relevancy and irrelevancy. That is, what is the material that is relevant to your issue or topic which is interpreted in your report. You have to add only relevant material. And then what sort of organization or what sort of structure you need in order to present your data in a well knitted way, so that all the main ideas, all the details must be there, but they must be well organized. Then another important thing which you have to keep in your mind, that is audience, for whom you are writing the report. Because if you are not well aware of the fact that who is your reader, then how you can manipulate your information according to his needs or his requirements. So first of all, keep in your mind that who is your audience. There may be often three different audiences are there. The first one is the casual reader or the big boss who wanted to manage message as painlessly as possible, and the other the reader who is interested and wants more detail but doesn't want to read out the whole technical details, or he doesn't need any sort of technical detail. The third one is your head, your boss, your guru, who wants the whole story of the issue or whatever you are interpreted in your report. So now, after having the acknowledgement about the audiences, what to do now? So for the better structure of your report, you can include an abstract for the big boss, a mail body for the interested non-specialist, and a technical appendix for the boss, for the group. So in this way, a good structure emerges which make your report very effective one. Now students, to enhance the effectivity of your report, here we are sharing some final touches which can make your report more effective one. In this regard, first of all, be careful that always use active voice when in your report writing, just as here is a sentence given. It is very much effective one to use active voice sentence, but while using the active voice is especially important when making recommendations, especially when you are going to say it is recommended that. So in active voice, I or we recommended that. You can present your information or data in the form of flowchart that will enhance the effectivity of your report. It will create interest and give the better understanding about the problem or the information whatever you are communicating with the help of flowchart. You can also interpret or share or present your data in the form of pie chart. That is another form of conveying or interpreting your data, or a source of statistical data interpretation. That is also interesting and for the quick understanding or better or effective understanding for the readers. Another way of interpreting your information or data is organization chart. That is also a good way of interpretation of the data. Line graph may also be used for the collected material interpretation that will enhance the effectivity of your report. After this detailed discussion and sharing of the information, I hope so that you will be able to write down a formal report. Let's have a recap of all this information. First of all, make your report a valuable one by keeping it that must be professional and clear, concise, and interpreted in a logical way, and there must be a clear understanding of the reader. You have to present in a way that the reader can easily understand it, so that you can put up that much information or data that may be enough for the understanding of the reader. And again, another important thing is that at the end of the report, the action which you are seeking for in this regard, there must be a clear call to action at the end of your report. Hopefully, after this detailed discussion, you will be able to write down a formal report. Thank you.